is our favorite time of the week again. Time for hashtag Rising Qs, where we get to answer your questions. All right, Saagar, what do we got?
Okay, number one, let's throw it up there on the screen. Do you think the overall response to the crisis would be different if it was a non-election year? If yes, then how so? What do you think, Krystal?
I think it would be slightly even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it should be a lot better because it's an election year, but it actually isn't, because what we're seeing is the GOP is like so dominated by their ideology over even their best political interests. I mean, think about, I know I've said this before, but you've got the opposition party begging you to stimulate the economy and spend more money. Just freaking do it.
Yeah, I know.
But because the ideology runs so deep, they won't. I think you have seen like Cory Gardner and a few others who are on the front lines who are like staring their loss straight in the face, who have made this maybe a little better than it would be, and Mitch McConnell, who is aware that he could very much lose his position as Senate Majority Leader. But it should be a radical difference, and it's actually not.
Yeah, that's right. So the answer is it would be way worse than it is right now. And that's what Nate Silver and many others, people are mystified. They're like, who doesn't just want to stimulate the economy right before the election? Isn't that what you would want to do? No, because they've actually created an ideology where they think that the spending itself is what's stopping the economy from roaring back to life. Well, you're all going to get mugged by reality, in the phrase of Irving Krystal, too very, very soon, and you're all fools for it. That's my answer.
Indeed. So. Well said. All right, this question is for Saagar more than me. The populist left has a lot of good alternative media outlets and voices like Kalinsky, Dora, and yourself, Krystal. Thank you very much. But is there any good or worthwhile political commentators on the populist right? What say you, Saagar?
Well, all I have to say is just watch Rising, and you'll get your dose. No, it's not just Rising. You could also watch Tucker Carlson tonight. But that's about as close as it gets. And the reason I think it's so interesting, I've thought about this a lot, like why does this dynamic exist? And I think what it is that the left as we know it today, the progressive left, was born in 2008. So they've had about 12 years to basically like get their stuff together, become a more organized niche movement. We have many of the people here on this show, Ryan Grimm, David Dayen, Matt Stoller, many of whom were mugged by reality, so to speak, back in 2008. And it took them a long time to get their careers and everything off the grid. Same with TYT. It was kind of like a nascent thing that came and kind of exploded. I think the right's real reckoning moment, if there was one, was 2016. Trump, right? But then Trump himself, because he wasn't really committed to some of the things that he ran on, everybody could claim the mantle of Trumpism.
Right.
There was no real like birth of a movement, so to speak. So the real populist right, like the new kind of the new movement as we see it today, there are two kind of things that happened. 2018, whenever the Republicans lost big in the House, and people were like, what's happening here? Not working. The tax cuts. So first you have 2016, then you have 2018. 2018 dramatically lose after you enact the Paul Ryan agenda. It's only been 2 years. It's just very nascent. It's a very small thing. So I even have the privilege of kind of being one of the bigger megaphones there. But it's a very small thing, and I think it's going to take a lot longer to evolve.
Yeah, I think that's all interesting insights. I would, of course, amend it to say just watch Rising. But I also think, I mean, a lot of the grassroots energy in the Republican Party previously had been among this, what is actually a minority view within the party, but that's held like by a lot of small business owner type, like that cut spending and cut taxes thing has actually been very animating among the grassroots of the right, among this relatively small group. So there are a lot of voices online that represent that perspective, but not a lot of dissenters on economics at this point.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of money propping up those voices.
Fair point as well.
Third question, what do we got? So the third question is, do you think if Biden is successful in November but steps down and doesn't run for a second term as president, his VP will get a progressive primary challenger in 2024, especially if it's someone like Susan Rice or Kamala Harris? What do you think, Krystal?
Yes, I 100% think so. And this is something that I think will be a defining dynamic of the Biden administration. In a lot of ways, Barack Obama, even though there was some criticism of him from the left, from some of the more courageous voices, some of whom we have on this show, there was and still is a lot of discomfort around criticizing Barack Obama because of the historic nature of his presidency. Biden doesn't get any of
No, he
that.
doesn't.
And so, especially with the stakes being so high, and this dovetails with the last conversation, with there being more independent voices on the left who are certainly not going to be afraid of leveling criticism of Joe Biden and the Biden administration, I think you are very likely to see a primary fight between whoever his VP is and a more progressive, somebody from the sort of left burning wing of the party would very much be my hope and expectation.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to happen. Whether it's successful, I have no idea. I mean, given the mantle of the presidency is a big
really
one.
hard.
It'd be very difficult in order to do. That's why this primary was so important, as we've talked about.
And why that media space is so important.
Yeah,
because ultimately the media controlled who ended up being the nominee in this Democratic primary. So growing that media space, those alternative voices, never been more critical.
Very true. All right, we will have more for you after this.